What's going on, everyone, and welcome to Method in the Madness. This is the podcast that not only delves deep into design and creativity, but also leadership, productivity, and also personal development. And this is episode 11, and I'm super excited about this episode because I get to speak to Mr. Gavin Strange, who is an incredibly talented designer and director from Aardman Animations, but is also a huge proponent for creative side projects where he explores his own animation work, filmmaking, illustration, music making, and even toy design, which is just awesome. But I've been a huge fan of Gavin's work for quite a while now. But after recently seeing him speak at the Dinghy conference in Edinburgh, I reached out to him, and not only did Gavin very kindly agree to kind of come on the show, but he also invited me down to the Aardman offices, which was just absolutely awesome. As you can imagine, that was a bit of a dream come true for the 10-year-old inside of me. But I had a lot of questions for Gavin. So we covered quite a lot of stuff in this episode, but we had a really great conversation, mainly surrounding, how Gavin found his start in the design and creative industry. We talk about his, self-motivation and not only to do his job, but to take on so many passion projects in his spare time, as well as finding the kind of right work-life family balance too. Gavin also gives us an insight into his creative process and tells us the stories behind some of his work, like the title sequence he did for the Off Festival in Barcelona. And Gavin also tells us about his most recent work, which was on the new Shaun the Sheep Farmageddon movie, which sounds incredible and is in cinemas right now. So make sure you go and check it out and check out Gavin's work. This is also an exciting episode because this episode is brought to you by Dinghy. And Dinghy provide insurance for freelancers and they're by freelancers. That's Dinghy in a nutshell. Their goal is to make insurance cheaper, faster, and fairer. Dinghy's groundbreaking approach offers flexible, pay-as-you-go business insurance exclusively for freelancers, all done through their simple and intuitive app, which is Ace. And with that app, you get, insurance that can be turned up or down, on or off, 24/7, meaning you only actually pay for the coverage you need rather than paying for the coverage that you don't need. It's charged down to the second as well, which is crazy, and billed in arrears. There's absolutely no fees or admin charges ever. And you can get a quote within 40 seconds and a policy within 2 minutes with only 8 questions to answer, which is less than 2 minutes. I mean, you do well to make a good cup of tea in that time. So Dinghy also supports freelancer groups and charities with the aim of improving freelancing and the world in general. So please head over to their website today and get your quote in seconds. So please head over to getdinghy.com/MITM. That's getdinghy.com/MITM. And without much further ado, I'd like to welcome Mr. Gavin Strange to Method in the Madness. Gavin, thank you very much for coming on the show, and thank you very much for having me at the Aardman offices here in Bristol too.
You are very welcome, and massive props for saying Aardman as well. You've said it right.
Well, I was going to say Aardman, but I heard you pronounce it a Dibby, so I was like, no, I know the proper way of pronouncing it now.
The guys that started the company, Dave and Pete, they're so good. And I mean, I must have worked here 5-6 years and then only clicked that they say Aardman. I'm like, oh God, everyone else says Aardman. Aardman, and everyone does, and they're so sweet that they've not just every time you say it, just stop you and go, I employ you, so can you say it right? they're so nice.
Hate to correct you, but it's actually Aardman.
Yeah. I often think it must have just driven them mad, but they're very sweet.
Oh well, no, so.
Oh, you're welcome.
It was yourself that actually taught me how to say it properly.
Good. Well, I'm glad I've passed on that good knowledge.
You are a designer, animator, author, keynote speaker, music maker, toy designer, and obviously a dad. So you are a very busy man.
Try to be.
But if you don't mind, I would like to kind of rewind a little bit and kind of go back. Could you tell us a bit about how you found your start in design and creativity?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I didn't go to university, so my sort of real first start in the industry was as a junior graphic designer. I went to college, so did a 2-year BTEC National Diploma in Graphic Design in Leicester, where I'm originally from. But that was really because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know or understand the paths that creativity could take you. Like many people who went to school in 80s, 90s, I don't think the career guidance was particularly helpful or
Yeah.
wide, in its scope.
I
So
remember my career guides, I got told to not do design.
really,
And it was just like, have you considered engineering? It's just like, you clearly have never seen my marks at school.
well, I think it's just a sort of a real narrow. It just felt like there was such a narrow set of paths that you could take. So I didn't. That didn't really open up anything for me. And it was just, I really liked art and I liked creativity. I was really drawn to. I just was always drawn to the aesthetics of stuff. So my room, was filled with posters from like Computer and Video Games magazine, and I really like characters and I just love the look of stuff. And I think it just with art, I'd always drawn and doodled, and my dad's a really great artist. He didn't become a professional artist; he is an engineer, funny enough. That's what he was. Maybe he was told the same thing. It was just, you should be an engineer. And it was just my parents encouraged me to. It's okay to not know what to do, but at least move forwards with something. Don't just waste your time. Go onwards, which is something that has definitely sort of followed through my whole life.
So they were quite supportive with that.
Yeah, I mean, I do.
Because some parents would probably freak out.
I think they were freaking out in a sense of, we just wish he'd have a clue. Really, I got the sense, because I don't remember having any real back then. 14, 15, 16, any real like, this is what I'm going to do. But they were patient. That's probably the best way to say it. They were patient. I know that they wanted me to have a plan.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to do. But yeah, I basically sort of fell into this 2-year BTEC at design school, where I just was not very good, but I loved it. I really loved it. I was surrounded by very, very good people who I'm still very good friends with today, who are doing great things. But I didn't shine in any particular way. I loved it. I was so in the world, but I was just a bit of a jack of all trades back then. I loved typography, but I also loved graphic design and photography and illustration and music and film. Like I spent so much of the first couple of years with a buddy of mine just writing terrible scripts, because we sort of wanted to be filmmakers rather than designers, which funny enough is what I do now. But I was just a bit of a scattergun approach, but it was being there that showed me all the different roles. Well, just a very small fraction of the different roles that were out there in the industry, and it was just a great place to play. I think that's probably what I got. I like the creative freedom, and again, our tutors wanted us to go in a direction that would end up in employment or university, predominantly university. But it was not doing the university thing which led me to apply, to basically look for jobs, because I wanted to get in the industry. And I managed to swing a job as a junior graphic designer at a local design firm in Leicester. So that was my start, really. It's very muddy, and then as things evolve, that next step just gives you a little bit more clarity and a little bit more confidence as well, as to, oh, wow, being employed I hadn't even turned 18 at the time, 17-year-old, being given a little bit of money to be a paid creative to make things for people. That gave me such a thrill and a boost. I wanted to just go forwards with it.
Yeah, it's kind of, sometimes it doesn't really feel like a job if you enjoy it as much as you probably do.
It's of course, everything has its difficulties, and sometimes you have great days and sometimes you have less great days, and that's just life, isn't it? That is just the ups and downs of being a human being. So I just think, if we're so fortunate enough to work in this industry where really at the end of the day we get paid, to make things for other people, and that's awesome. That is really awesome. I do.
In comparison to some jobs, it certainly is, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely, we're so lucky. And I always think back to that 15, 16-year-old kid, me, who didn't know what to do, where to go, what if I was any good at anything. So to be here in my career, I just feel so thankful and grateful. I never want to forget that, because others aren't so fortunate, and I want to work really hard to keep such a wonderful thing.
Yeah. And when you got that first job, was that, did you feel like it was all coming together then, or was it still a few years after that, or like what was the first point where you thought, oh, this is kind of coming together for me, I know this is my jam?
That's a really good question. I don't know if I've ever really felt like it's come together in a sense of like, but in in a like, oh, this is a calculated plan where things are really falling into place. I was just so thrilled as sort of the experience just developed, and I would work on bigger things or work with more people or work in a different style or see something new. Every sort of stage that happened was so exciting. I almost didn't stop to think. I do often now. I do as a dad and as a husband and with a dream job. I and doing talks actually obviously makes you
Sure.
look back at what you've done. You know, I'm immensely proud and excited at the things I've done. But at the time, I just like not worrying too much about and just using my brain energy just in the moment, just making hopefully good stuff and being excited and try not to psychoanalyze it, because otherwise you can go the other way as well, right? You
Yeah.
can be like, well, I don't deserve this, and
Humongous imposter
what
syndrome.
the universe has been really kind to me, so obviously what happens next is something
be-
terrible is going to happen. So so I try not to, because time and energy is it's so small and so hard to come by. I try and just use it to be in the moment and get excited. And I feel like that has happened since I first started my career. It is loving what you're doing, trying to find new opportunities purely because you're excited by them, doing them when you can, sharing them, and then seeing where that takes you. Sometimes it takes you nowhere. Sometimes it takes you in a totally different
And then sometimes
direction.
it doesn't actually, take you anywhere immediately, but
Yeah,
5-10 years
yeah.
down the line, somebody will get in touch, or it presents an opportunity further down the line.
Definitely, it's connecting the dots, and I think that's what the nice thing is. I recommend it to anyone to. I recommend to anyone to do talks anyway. I think it's a fun, terrifying but wonderful experience. But at the same time,
Yeah.
you're forced to look back and plot. You will plot your own path and go, oh, I didn't know that was connected, but I'm really glad that I did this at the time. Maybe it didn't feel great. You got through it in whatever guise that is, but that's led you to where you are. I think that's really nice as a sort of as a human being to
Well, I think it's just like
look at that.
sometimes you're just so busy and caught up in your day job that you don't, as you said, you don't take that moment to reflect, and you don't take that moment to go like, have the kind of pinch me moment of like, I actually
Yeah.
got to work on that. That was
Yeah.
that was cool. Like,
Yeah.
and it won awards, and it did this, and it did this for me, or whatever it may
Yeah.
be, or having the moment to reflect and going, oh, if I was like that 14-year-old Gregor, telling him, you're going to be working on this in 10, 15 years'
It blow
time.
your mind, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
absolutely
And then
blow
you're
your
like,
mind.
I should really be more appreciative.
I think this is just a really special thing. So I think when it comes down to it, really, there's not much else in the world. You are the sum total of your experiences and your emotions and your interactions and the things that happen to you. So I think it's nice to sort of take a minute and go, flipping heck, that really meant a lot to me, because what else is there? Be kind to yourself and just it's nice to reminisce, and it's also nice to sort of think back and go, flipping heck, that didn't work out so great, but I'm here now.
Yeah.
To look past what did happen. I mean, that's not for everyone. Maybe everyone's just like, what? I want to get on with stuff. Or you're sitting around just thinking about everything. I remember how it used to be. But for me, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Like reading back on your career and other interviews that you've done in the past, since you have taken, I suppose, a less, I hate to use the word traditional in terms of going to university and doing things a certain way, you seem to be very self-efficient and very self-motivated, and it's kind of all been out of your own doing. Like, you've not kind of, just from interviews, I could be wrong, but I suppose there's never been like a mentor that you've mentioned, or a particular person or a particular place that's kind of, really made you step up. Have you ever had a mentor that has like really kind of helped you, or are you just incredibly like self-motivated and self-driven?
No, I'm massively lazy. No, no, I have had a lot of mentors along the way. Actually, that's the thing. I've had real like guiding principles from people, and definitely the more I look back, I can totally see my parents' drive, and that's where I get it from. That sort of, we don't mind what you do, just do something. I definitely know that is massive from them. But at every stage, so when I was in design college, it was our tutor Kate and the rest of the tutors who were, bless her, because I was really rubbish and I kept having to redo work, but she still sort of stuck with me and sort of pushed, so it's people like that. But then in my first job, I had my boss, Nathan, who I was junior graphic designer and then switched to being junior web designer with him in this tiny team. Literally, the team was me and him. It's not really a team, is it? Two people. And just a duo, yeah. And he was the one that made me start JamFactory, which is my sort of alter ego / digital website stuff, because he just sort of, without questioning, was like, well, no, all the stuff you're excited on, you should go home and try and tinker with this stuff, because I was learning coding at the same time. I was teaching me HTML and CSS. And so I would always go home and sort of the latest visual style that I love online, I would sort of copy that and then sort of try and copy the code. And like on a weekly basis, I'd redesign my site and make it all wonky and chonky. And it was him that was sort of like, no, that's really interesting. So he was always there, and he was a real sort of provocateur to me, and sort of we would fall out, and we would, I was a 17, 18-year-old kid, and he was a 30-something-year-old, and I was just so wet behind the ears. I also believed anything. Oh, he told me loads of lies all the time. What did he oh, God!
It's like an older brother.
He told me that they shut the internet once a year for cleaning, and I just remembered. I mean, it could have been way worse.
I remember my brother once telling me, I was very young, just for people listening, going, "You absolute moron!" But
he's lying. He was 25.
My brother, it's a couple of years ago. My brother once telling me that 7 years in Tibet was about a man finding like a special coffee bean, and then like I just took that as gospel, having never got an interest to watch the film. And then like years later, I mentioned it in front of my mates, and they're just like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I was like, "Oh no!"
So much information is basically lies from your siblings or your parents, isn't it?
Yeah. So I know how that feels.
So I have people like that. Nathan, who was just he was like a big brother / dad / mentor / everything / antagonizer. And he was really instrumental in sort of giving me the confidence actually to tinker and get things wrong and make mistakes and play. And then so unbeknownst to them, he then gave me the confidence to leave and work for myself, as well as all the people I met at the design agency. Particularly Andy and Rich, who are great designers, who I looked up to them doing creative work. They were very professional and very. They were just doing it. They were like, "You're a grown up doing design." It was really inspirational to see. And then when I joined Aardman, it was Dan Fagin, who's one of my dearest friends now. He's now group creative director of Interactive, and he's a huge presence here at Aardman. But when he joined 12 years ago, the interactive team, the digital team back then was tiny. It was a handful, 4 or 5 people, and he needed a designer, and he got me in as freelance. 12 years later, I'm still here. 11 years later.
Must be doing something right.
Hopefully. And he's been a guy. He is such a unique individual in the fact that he's very kind and he's very open and he's very good at seeing the benefits of any situation and calmly weighing them up and calmly getting you to sort of be a better person. I don't actually know how he does it. It's amazing.
But he's very Miyagi.
He's just loved in this company. He's a very unique person. I'm really proud to call him my friend, and I love that he's my. He has been and continues to be my mentor. He's never, he's probably like, "Oh, that Gav guy just keeps hanging around." But I love, he's someone I very much look up to him and see how he operates and does things. And there's loads of people like that here at Aardman that are just, they've done things in their own way, in their own path.
Yeah.
And I find that really, Dave and Pete, who started the company, they started this when they were teenagers, and this is now 40 plus years their thing. Well, now it's ours. It's employee owned.
Yeah, I know. I was going to mention that,
which is really special.
Like, what was that like? Like finding out that it's going to become employee owned. Was it just like broken over to you by an email, or was there like a big?
I think we all sort of had rumblings / we just sort of knew, because Dave and Pete are very, very compassionate people, and it's just always been known that they fiercely want Aardman to be independent.
Sure.
And that's what I love personally, is that it's not owned by a big conglomerate. There's no big sort of dark sort of financier that's pulling the strings. It is made by the people that help build the company. So then it was a massive surprise and just an honor, but at the same time, it felt totally right.
Yeah,
that we would have it. And Dave and Pete are still massively involved. It just felt really sort of special, and it just sort of just added another layer of that pride, really. Of not
I was
only
about to say, like, being employee owned, is there like I'm not saying that you didn't care before, but like you almost like there's so much more in it for you because like it's like we're all in the same boat together.
Yeah,
It's not like
definitely.
anyone's probably, you know, probably did well for lowering staff turnover and all this kind of stuff because like who wouldn't want that? It's
Well,
like
exactly. I
we
mean,
all own a piece of this, so
yeah,
like we're all in the same
I
boat
think it
together,
just
all trying to
amplified it.
yeah.
I think it was already there. I think there's a real pride. Like people hang around Aardman for a long time. You know,
Mm,
with people are here
I'm
for
not
20,
surprised.
30 years. You know, because it's just a very special place, and it's hard to describe it without talking like you're just in love with the cult. But because it's they're so honest and genuine. I think that's what's so nice and feels so refreshing about it. It's just everyone cares about making a nice thing in whatever format, whether that's a video game or a commercial or a toy or
Mm,
a film or whatever. You know, it's just a genuine honesty behind making it, and that so then when it was even more so, you know, the onus has always been on you taking pride in your own work, but then taking pride in your own work because this is all yours. It just is that extra level, you know, kicks it into high gear sort of thing. It's really really nice.
yeah, that's ace.
I'm just gonna pull that blind down. Sorry, it's really
Nah, nah, on you go. For those of those listening, I'm looking out onto a lovely kind of roof terrace that's got a Shaun the Sheep and a grommet sitting on it in the gorgeous Bristol sunshine.
it is not, and it's been raining as well.
Yeah, I know.
The sun's out here,
But
sorry, listeners.
no,
I'm
no.
sure that was thrilling for you all to hear.
You recently spoke at Design It Build It in Edinburgh, and I mean, definitely all your talks that I've seen are super energized, high energy, really dynamic, and the thing that I loved about it was the kind of honesty and the vulnerability about your story and your career, and about the creative industry. And one of the kind of I suppose biggest takeaways is the do it your own way. Like there's no right or wrong way of doing what you want to do in the kind of creative industry. Why do you think that is so important?
I think, and do you know what? This has been feels like a sort of a personal revelation in the last couple of years, actually, of finding confidence and solace in. No, it's okay that I think to do it this way, or I've done it that way, or that's the path I've taken. You spend so much of your energy, obviously, looking to other people, how they've done it, how they've got there. You know, when you're trying to plot your own path, you obviously look to others who've been there or doing it.
Yeah, sure.
And then it's just, yeah, it just felt like a big turnaround of, no, it's okay that you're doing it your way. It's almost like a quiet acceptance that I never planned or thought about. But then the more that's happened, the more I've thought about it, gone, no, there's something in the calmness of going, no, that's okay. You'll figure it out. And if it doesn't work out, you've not been untrue to anyone else or yourself because you've gone, no, I just tried it my way. And I think actually a big sort of part of it actually has been getting more and more into music because that's always been something I've been interested in but never had the confidence to play.
Mm,
And then just through just buying sort of equipment, I've just started tinkering and doing stuff and just realized there is literally no right or wrong way to make that stuff because it doesn't even matter who listens or not. It's totally free and expressive. And for some reason, it took doing a different medium that made me go, no, this applies to everything.
yeah.
It doesn't matter. The end output is the end output. My boss once says, "You're only as good as your last piece of work." It's
Mm.
like that. Your output is that how you got there is for you
I think in the
alone to
creative
work
industry
out.
as well, specifically, I might be a slightly biased because we're in it, but you know, no one really cares what degrees you
Yep.
have or whatever. If you're a nice person and
Yep.
you're really good in terms of the work you produce, whatever that is,
Yeah.
then anyone will employ you.
Oh,
Like you don't
massively
need to
true.
have the
Yeah.
certain grades or
No.
certifications. Like we're in a benefit that's not
Yeah.
really part of our industry.
Yeah, it's the work that you make and what you're like as a human being. Yeah, definitely, because you might have two people on paper that've got the exact same qualifications, but if that one individual is just showing more passion or more engagement or more kindness or more humility or
Mm,
whatever, being a human being wins out. And then when you know that, you're like, oh, okay, well actually, it's about being good and putting out good work. And what a CV says is relevant for some industries, of course, and
yeah,
sometimes depending on the job, you might, oh, we're doing this, and actually we need someone with a degree in so and so because of that.
of
There
course,
is
yeah,
obviously always justification behind it, but generally, yeah, it is about the person's personality and the quality of
yeah.
the work, isn't it?
It's all like as long as you can always spot. I find when you're recruiting people or you're just like helping other people recruit people. personality over like portfolio usually trumps for me, because you could be the best designer or best creative or best photographer or best artist in the world, but if you're a nightmare to work with,
Yeah.
then no one's going to really want to work with you. If
No.
your attitude stinks, then
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, no thanks.
And it
I'd
might
rather
get you
have,
somewhere.
yeah, I think,
And
don't get me wrong,
unfortunately,
but
sometimes it gets you quite far. But at the end of the day, if you were then asked the people who other people who are working on it, they would be like, "Yeah, it looks great or it is great, but but who would want to be that but?"
yeah.
That's the bit I can't remember. It would kill me. Oh, I'm going to find out now that people do it. It would kill me to find out that someone would go home and tell their partner about how much of a nightmare you were as a
Yeah.
person to work with. That'd be awful, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how wonderful the thing you make is, if the lasting memory on people's brains is, "Oh, I've got to go and do something with them." Oh, that's awful, isn't it? So, yeah, I think, and that wonderful thing about that is that's so unifying. What we're saying there is, be a nice human being and make stuff you believe in. Cool.
Yeah. It's also, I don't think it's particularly unique to the creative or design industries, but just with social media, it's almost like you get the bros online of like, I got up at 2 in the morning,
Oh man,
did 3
yeah.
workouts, made breakfast, kissed my kids, went to work, smashed it, came back, and it's just like, oh, come on. Like, do you think, in particular, because the creative industry is a bit of a kind of, it's a spaghetti junction rather than like a straight road, people get pressured to almost like be like that, and they have to work every hour of the day to make it, and
Yeah.
kind of come under pressure of all these things that they see on LinkedIn and kind of act like that?
I think so, and I think there's also, dare I say it, there's probably a time for that. It depends who and where you are in your life. Personally, I got my balance wrong of working all hours massively wrong when I was in my early 20s, and I worked for myself, and I didn't really keep check on on myself really, and on
Mm.
my own health. But that, I felt like that was necessary because that was a phase I went through, but I chose to do that. I
Yeah.
chose to work those hours. No one was forcing me. That also goes to show about, I should have probably been better at time management and client management and expectation. But you have to get these things wrong to know what you do right, and to know what to steer. But there's definitely a relatively new-ish sort of culture of working longer and harder than anyone else. But something I say in my talks is, you got to work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that as well. Some people work very quickly, some people work very slowly. What you can achieve in a time frame is massively different for every single person. And again, it's about sort of finding the confidence in, I do it like this. I'm quite slow. I have to sort of think about all the things first, and then they sort of assemble and jumble in my brain, and then it goes forward. So I'm not particularly great in brainstorms where it's idea, idea, idea. Sort of, I noodle around for quite a while, and that's okay. I've kind of realised
Yeah.
that's okay. And sometimes I say that if we're having brainstorms, sometimes I'll say, "Oh, maybe I'll sit this one out, but I'd love to read the notes, and I'd love to throw in anything," and sort of trying where I can to sort of fit my process around other processes if it's going to make things better. Try not to force myself into a situation, but that is also a huge luxury. But again, it's just this whole sort of reflecting thing, and it's so hard to say all of this stuff without sounding like we're also in the new Instagram trend of just like, hey, just be kind to yourself. But some of these things, they are true. They're true sentiments.
Live your best life.
Yeah, it's sort of like statements that get written on a kitchen wall. It's hard.
Those things are banned in our house. Like, it's like I love motivational stories and people, but these little trinkets that you get that people hang in their bathrooms and, as you say, kitchens and all this kind of stuff about friendships and all this kind of garbage. It's like, oh my god!
I saw an amazing thing today on Instagram. Funnily enough, it was a screenshot from The Shining where Danny's standing outside the door that says red rum, scrawled in red on the door, and it just says live, laugh, love. It was amazing. I was like, yes, I want that as a print. But again, but then there's also something I think about. You go down that trend, then hang on, all these statements are just meant to be kind to other people, and the sentiment is lovely. We're living in an age of full-on negativity and just horrendous stuff. So actually, it's nice to be positive.
Yeah.
I think it's like anything. You get a bit of fatigue, don't you?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I first came across yourself and your work when an old colleague of mine shared your off titles that you
Oh,
did, which I've subsequently shared with tons of different people
oh,
because
thank you,
they're
mate.
awesome. And if you haven't seen it, it is a stop motion typographic rap video film, which was premiered at the to open off.
Yeah,
What was that, back in 2016?
2016, yeah.
Yeah. And Off is obviously one of the biggest creative festivals in the world. How did that project come around? And how did it kind of you get involved in that?
I love how the story of how this came around. So I was in Qatar in the Middle East. Off does satellite festivals, and it was their inaugural Qatar festival. They'd partnered with the VCU, which is a university in Qatar that sort of partnered with somewhere in America. It's all a very strange partnership. But Off helped curate one of these days, and one of those days, Casey Neistat was the speaker. Then they had a bunch of other people. No, I was one of them, and just thought, okay, it sounds like a bonkers experience. This is awesome, thank you very much. Off the guys who run Off, Hector and Nathalie are amazing, wonderful human beings. And we were at dinner one night, and it's very hard to go out as a group in Qatar. I don't drink myself, but the guys wanted a drink, and it's very hard to drink in
Yes.
Qatar, obviously, understandably. But the places you can drink are 5-star hotels. So you ended up just going to these super swanky, and as you can imagine, in the Middle East, they're beautiful,
Yeah.
epic, huge things. And we go to these places. So everyone's as a big crew eating, and we're just sort of having dessert. Everyone's in that, having a bit of a coffee, just it's all kind of calm. And Hector, who's the director of Off and the founder, he's a really quiet guy. He's so interesting. He internalizes all his thoughts and just makes these amazing things.
Mhm.
And he came over and he just he's very quiet. He says, "I have a proposition for you." I was like,
Excuse me?
"Okay." And then he said, "I need to have a few more drinks first, and then I will ask you." And I remember thinking, I don't know what's happening now.
Yeah.
What I literally cannot fathom what is going to happen next.
Did you know that he was the director of Off at this point?
Yeah,
All right, okay.
I
So
think
it wasn't like a complete
no, he wasn't a
random
total.
man.
It wasn't a total strange. But knowing Hector, it can be anything. It can literally be anything. And I was just like, okay, this is going to be a really mad trip in the Middle East. And then he basically came back and said, I wondered if you and Aardman would be up for making the titles, the main titles for next year. Straight away, I thought, oh my days, I would absolutely love to. I would unequivocally love to do them, but I cannot say yes on behalf of Aardman. That is definitely not within my remit. At that time, I wasn't a director. I was a senior designer here, and that was not my thing. I was making lots of films on my own time, and I was having lots of support from Aardman, and we were making stuff in the studio, but I wasn't officially a director. But I thought, a good friend of mine called Merlin he's a director, creative director of Wallace and Gromit, animation director on Early Man, animator on Chicken Run. He has been here for 20-something years. Wonderful human being with a ton of knowledge. Really great guy. And I just sent him a text saying, mate, I have been asked the passion project of all passion projects. I'd love to talk to you about it when I'm back home if you're up for a crazy project. And he just sent me back saying, sounds super interesting. Yeah. Let me know when you get back. And so that's sort of how it came about. And I got Merlin on board because I just knew that it was going to be ambitious. And also having Merlin on board, we then sort of made a plan and formally approached our bosses and our people here, our man, saying we'd love to do this. It's a passion project, but if you could give us some studio time and some crew to help us, we have the cameras and the sets and things like that. But then it was like a passion project within the studio. We were doing it in our own time and begged to borrow and stolen hours, and Merlin made the big blue head, so it features dancers with big giant heads and then a stop frame puppet. Merlin did all the animation and the modeling of the character as well, so it was a real passion project, but it was just wonderful. It was just one of those things that just spiraled out of control, and it was a hodgepodge of we wanted it to have energy, basically. Off for us is massively energy filled. It's chaotic, it's crazy, it's wonderful, it's big, it's loud, kind of what we wanted it to reflect, all of those things, and to sort of hit people, make it kind of quick and punchy and hit people with that energy, and it doesn't matter if you sort of don't catch everything. Hopefully, people will watch it again. So, and then seeing it premiered in off on the booming sound system in front of 3,000 people,
giant screen.
Hector has a thing that he never watches the titles before anyone else, so he sees it for the first time with everyone else.
Wow,
he wants to know.
I was just about to ask, like, how, like,
no sign off.
How involved, or is it just like?
It's insane. I've never met anyone like it. That's the thing.
Crazy.
And the best thing is, about halfway through, Nathalie, who is Hector's husband and also runs the communications and PR of Off, sent us an email saying, is there a frame or two we could see from the storyboard? We just want to put something in the book. Which we found a little strange, but we did it anyway. Merlin just quickly grabbed a storyboard frame that it drew of our little blue character, and we didn't think much of it. And then whilst we were there, I think, the titles hadn't aired yet, actually, so still no one had seen them apart from us. There's a tattoo booth at Off, and Nathalie says, "Come with us, I think you want to see this." And Hector is having the storyboard frame tattooed on his leg of a film he's yet to see.
That is crazy.
It blew, because Merlin drew it. It literally blew his mind. I've got.
Like, if I knew that was going to happen, probably would have spent some more
time
on it.
Like imperfections and everything. Like the circle wasn't even complete. It was a circle, and it was literally a super quick board. And he was like, "I would have drawn it better." Oh, it's wonderful. And then we just thought, I really hope you like this film. Man.
Yeah, I know.
It was awesome.
Kind of starts so. What's the word? So subtly as well. With the kind of it's off like such a slow, soft start, and you're like, what's this going to be? And
is it going to be really long and drawn out?
And then it's just like boom.
That shot was twice as long, so it's for the listeners. It's a very long, grey, empty room with two very grey people, greyly typing with some very sort of dull music. It's meant to be long and boring and represent being stuck in a space that you don't want to be stuck in. And it's just a long dolly shot in, and we wanted that to be even longer, so people are sort of almost checking their watches. What's going on? But it was almost like, I think we need to cut it a bit. But yes, it was a whole thing about exploding with emotion and energy and fun and punch. One of my absolute favorite projects to date. I loved it.
I love it. I keep.
Thank you.
It's one of these things that when you're on YouTube and you see it pop up in the recommended videos, you're like, I'm just going to give that an hour.
Oh yes, thank you.
How does how long is that? It's like
how long's the film?
Yeah.
It's about 3 minutes. Actually.
Yeah. How long from like start to finish did that
take us to do?
Obviously, it probably would have taken less if it was like something you were able to do.
Yeah, if it was normally maybe that would have been possibly a 10-week production, perhaps, if you're doing full time. Maybe that's a real guess, but this probably took us 7-8 months, really.
Wow, okay.
Because it was just time, beg, borrowed, and steal. Merlin's super busy, he's always busy doing things. And at that point in my career, I was doing more film. I may have time and sort of starting to do more film work here. But but it then just like everything, it grew legs and it just got bigger and bigger. And then when we had the actual rapper, my friend POS, do the actual raps, that changed everything. That was one of the most exciting sort of things I've ever received.
It's been crazy like hearing that for the first time.
Oh, I think I listened to it at like 5 o'clock in the morning because we were on different time zones. He just sent me sort of like a low quality one on WhatsApp, and I remember just my wife was to see it. I just like leant over and put my earphones in, and then I just couldn't sleep after that. I was listening to him. Rap. She's like, "What's happening?" Oh, it was awesome.
Being a sucker for a title sequence, do you have are there any title sequences that stick out to you that you're just like, I wish I did that?
Oh, man.
It doesn't need to be necessarily like a film. Could be.
Do you know what? There's a famous motion graphics title sequence for a skate video called One Step Beyond by a company called Adio.
Yeah. I used to have that on VHS.
Motion graphics over live action footage. This was probably 20 years ago, and I just didn't even know what After Effects was at that point. I don't think I'd never touched it. That just blew. That I think was a big like, wow. I want to get into that. Actually, a lot of skate videos. All the
Tony
by
Hawk
Girl
sequences and things like that. They started getting really cool near the end.
Some really
once it got
cool
really popular
stuff.
There was one that had like Jurassic 5 as the soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
That was like Ace, and then it had like the the kind of animation over live
Yeah.
action stuff that was kind of like weaving in and it and stuff.
I think that mixed media stuff really excited. I mean, a lot of music videos, anything Spike Jonze did, anything Carl Cooper did in terms like the 7 credits, I think for everyone just blew everyone's minds, and particularly the end credits where the text goes in reverse, because you were so used to seeing black background, text goes from the bottom to the top. This goes in reverse with flash frames and weirdness, and Fight Club in the 2000s. That the kind of, it's been done to death now, but the flying through the neurons of the brain, and the kind of the mad obsession with crazy CG back then. But I loved all that stuff, and I think that's what we wanted to bring, especially for that project. But I still love rap videos and skate videos and films and kind of and video game intros, and or things like that changed it for everything, like when Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation had type, for the credits with the voice actors fade on. I'd never seen that in a video game. Yeah. That changed everything for me, because you suddenly thought about a medium in a different way by someone simply changing how the parameters worked. I think that was always really exciting.
God, I think it was like the second Metal Gear Solid. It almost had more animation footage that you sat and watched than you did like gameplay.
Yeah.
But
isn't like Metal Gear Solid 4 got like a 2-hour cutscene or something bonkers like that? Like, I sort of love how pretentious and ridiculous that is. I love that exists. I think it's mad, and I think it's wonderful.
Just before we move off, sorry. I see that obviously you're doing Hustle Mania with James White. I saw that online. That will be awesome.
We are back to, so we did Hustle Mania a couple of years ago, and Hustle Mania is a joint talk. It was a 2-hour mega talk of me and James Signal Noise White bouncing off each other, because we've got such similar talking styles, and we're really good friends. Kindly Hector and Natalie says, would you come back for 20, because 20 next year is off 20-year anniversary as well, and so we're like new talk, new combination, and it was just bonkers. Awesome. We had intro videos, we had confetti cannons, we had special guests. We kind of want to make it a show. That's what I love about doing talks. I want to hopefully put on a show for people as well and entertain them, even if they don't like the content. Hopefully they might come away with a smile. That'd be great.
Is there anything you can tell us about this one?
I think it's just going to be bigger, better,
more confetti cannons.
More confetti cannon. That was one of the early things, is we need bigger confetti cannon. I mean, the ones we had were pretty big, but straight away we're like, yeah, we'll do it. Can you get more confetti cannons?
Yeah.
So more excess.
Oh, epic. Do you have, or would you say you have a particular kind of philosophy when it comes to your creative process, or something that you always try to achieve, or a particular set of steps that you go through when kind of starting on a new project?
No, I don't think I do, actually. I think I'm getting better at learning my own process, in a sense of when I'm getting frustrated and when I'm feeling that inevitable, I can't do this. This is a rubbish idea. What am I doing? Look at what someone else did. That's amazing. I just know
that shaming yourself.
Basically. I think, and I hope everyone goes through that, and just remembering that, and sort of just to go through it, then to go, okay, I'm in this phase then. Why am I grumpy? Because I'm in that bit of creativity. It's okay. Tomorrow might be better. Next week might be better. And sort of trying not to get too hung up on it, and just, it doesn't make it easier in the moment, but just having that almost keeping an eye on it and going, well, okay, you're at that stage, are you? And just trying to do it. And I think as my role changes here as well, so in the last 2 years, I, like I mentioned, went from doing films on my own time. I'm now officially a director and a designer here. So I jump between roles, and so the different jobs are always, this year I just finished a huge full CG project, and then before that was a 2D live action mix. The big thing I've got coming up is a stop frame and CG mix. So the disciplines are ever changing, the jobs are ever changing, the parameters are ever changing. So it's quite nice to sort of be kept on your toes almost, and sort of you're not. It's the same creative process, right? You've got to think of the ideas, you've got to work with the team to bring them to life. But I like sort of just getting excited, and I think that's my thing. I just always want to try and be positive, and sure, client wants the logo bigger, make the logo bigger. Try not to get upset.
Is it difficult to kind of like flip and flop between roles or kind of different types of projects? Because
I really like it.
You obviously find a lot of people who just, they find their jam, or like they have one project that kind of makes it for them, and then they just kind of pursue that for the end of their days sometimes, and that's what they become known for. But you touch a whole different projects, so
I think maybe that's the bit about my process I like. I think maybe I'm okay at jumping between different projects and different styles.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my process. My process is many processes sort of thing, because I get excited about one thing and then something else will pop up, so I go and do that. But then that excitement has given me sort of new energy to approach this different problem.
Sure, yeah.
And then that solving the new thing has made me jump back to the old thing. And actually, I love that. And I think, again, I look back and think, flipping heck, I didn't know what I was going to do. And what a wonderful sort of creative set of problems to have, is to be able to jump from thing to thing and sort of spin plates.
Yeah.
I find that being trusted with something makes you want to repay that trust in kind,
Yeah.
and with gusto, and I feel like that's happening more and more, and it's just sort of feels like the energy is building in me, and oh, great, okay, every opportunity that comes along, I'm so grateful and thankful for that. I want to do my best at it and sort of see where it can go, because I just think, flipping heck, look where this has brought me. How wonderful. And yeah, okay, maybe I'm good at being excited. I'll roll with that. Stoked.
It's a good thing to be
Yeah.
it's a good thing to be good at.
Life's too short not to be.
I saw that you recently directed and designed the credits to the new Shaun the Sheep film.
Yeah.
Farmageddon. That must be like a childhood dream come true.
Oh man,
What was that experience like?
Oh, it was amazing. So I started on the crew. So when I first heard that the aliens were going to feature in the Shaun movie, I emailed the director at the time and just said, I'm really excited to hear the news, because I think it was a bit of a press release, and we knew a bit earlier that that was sort of the early stages of the film. And I just emailed them straight away and said, hey, I'm here if you need any alien graphics. I love graphic design. I love illustration. We worked together on the first Shaun movie. I did some motion graphic design for that, but with sort of alien graphics. I was like, oh, I could see all of that. And so then I ended up doing motion graphic design and bits of sort of looping animation for the sort of interface in the alien spacecraft, which was awesome. It was so awesome. It was just a dream come true. And these things get projected and they're hologram graphics. And then also there was some sort of iconography. My favourite bit is in the movie, there's a scene where one of the characters looks at the instruction manual for the spaceship. And so I got to design this. The whole brief was make an indecipherable, very visually confusing printed manual. And so it's just nonsense, but it's all looks like super confusing diagrams. And it's like, I did that.
That's
it's really
awesome.
special to make a prop. And then because I've done the alien space stuff, and then I did a few more props and bits and bobs working with the awesome art team. Just got sort of involved in the conversation. Would you like to sort of throw in some ideas for the credits? We wanted to do something different, and then just sort of one thing led to another, and they liked so they're visually different there. So sort of 2.5D, sort of fake 3D glowing motion graphics that is very different to the stock frame animation. There's sort of actually two sets. There's like called a HOD sequence, which is at the end of the movie, and then we go into a bit of a epilogue scene and then the moving credits. So there was kind of two
things
bits
to work on,
which was awesome. It was just, I just find it so special to make stuff for film, because that will exist forever. Films exist forever. That's really special. And now more than ever, people stay to the end of movies. They expect stuff, which I won't spoil anything. You should stay to the end of the
never a thing
movie.
back in the day.
No,
it was just like, right, see you later. And then when
you get up when the credits roll.
I remember like Pixar were like some of the first people to kind of do the blooper reel for an animated film, which seems like so stupid because it's obviously
animated bloopers just doesn't exist.
It's like you're just making more work for yourself, but like everyone stays back for it now.
Yeah, now
like,
Marvel, you're just expected.
You
have to wait to the, which is also awesome, because you finally get to see the names of all these hundreds of people, right?
That work on things. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a really special process. It's out, so obviously we're recording it now, and second, it's out in another 2 weeks on the 18th of October, and I can't wait because I haven't shared anything.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of it. We had a great team doing it, and it was just a dream come true. And the soundtrack is by two people I love. And because I was also being given the text to put into the text of the credits, the sections were changing all the time. And they sent me this text, and I saw these artists in it. And I went, no way. And I emailed the producer straight away saying, is this true? Is this true? Are they doing the music for the bit that we're doing? Yeah, I hope so. So yeah, I can't wait for you to hear. It's big and it's bassy and it's awesome and it's fun. So yeah, that's just really special. And we made like a little mini film in a film. It's a narrative. It tells a story, and there's a few little hidden Easter eggs in there as well.
Awesome. Like you were obviously at the premiere as well.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
Well, not. I was going to say the red carpet. It wasn't
the purple
the red
carpet. Yeah,
the purple carpet. What was, I suppose, that like seeing these people who are obviously famous faces watching your work on the big screen for the first time must be pretty surreal.
Oh, it was awesome. Like with all of the Aardman people, we all just hung around on the purple carpet. You generally it's a bit of a procession. Everyone goes in, and we were just all sort of, because it's special as well. These people, especially when you look at the animators who are the stars, that they have breathed life into these static puppets. I have a real reverence for the animators and the model making team and everyone on it. But that's their film, to bring it to life. But then we're all still like giddy school kids, and this is the thing. So the film finished, the credits rolled. I was really proud and had some lovely kind comments from friends.
That moment where like you just say, "Hope nobody gets out of their bloody seat."
I know, everyone sit. And everyone then started filtering it out, and one of the guests was Tim Peake, the astronaut Tim Peake. I literally was where you are now. He was standing because we were queuing because lots of people trying to get to the cinema. He was there with his family. They all looked really happy. I think I could hear them saying nice things about the film. Yeah. All I had to do was say, "I'm so sorry. Could I shake your hand? I'm a huge fan." Also, I've got an easy win. I worked a bit on the film. I bottled it. I didn't say it. And then on the next row, the person who I love who did the music also came out. I've got the perfect in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I did the help, did the animation bit that you did. No, I just sort of did a goofy smile and walked off like an absolute nana. So, but even that, that's just so special to be there, and it was a real nice thing. It was the big Leicester Square cinema. It was absolutely huge, 800 people, and it had 2 tiers. I've never been in a cinema like it. It's huge, and they all have brought their kids. It's a family film, and just hearing the chuckle and the funny sort of manic cackle laughter was so special. And I think again, to go back to why I love being here, is this place wants to make things with heart and charm and just wants to make people feel delightful. And I think in such trying times we kind of need that, don't we? So I feel like this place is my home, and so to do things like be a part of the team and make a small part of the movie,
that must be
amazing.
Nice. Totally one for a story to tell the grandkids.
Oh,
for sure.
Definitely. Well, I have snuck my son's name in
awesome.
a bit of the thing in the stars.
That's
so when he's old enough, I will.
Yeah,
I will show him that. Yeah, that's your name.
Yeah. Another big part of your kind of talk and your book and stuff as well is like having passion projects and side projects on the go. This podcast is one of mine.
Yeah, you are the prime example.
Where did this love for side projects and that kind of passion for passion projects come from?
I think it was my boss. To go back to my boss when I had my first job, it was him who said, go home and try and do the, just play, experiment, and I just really quickly found that if you just put in a little bit of effort, and I felt like I had such a reward. Just self sort of, okay, I've learned something, or I've learned a new style, or I've discovered something new. The reward for sort of putting in the energy and the effort felt really real time for me. So then sort of doubled the effort, maybe putting a bit more time, sort of got into a bit deeper and got twice as much back.
Yeah.
And so it's just this sort of this circle really that just keeps giving you lovely feedback and just learning. And now to be in a position that I got because of passion projects. I spent my own time making films, working with other people, working on that craft, that let me jump lanes almost. I still am a designer and that is what I am at heart, but the fact that I'm also a director as well is only because of passion projects. That was my university. That is my university, and that's the thing. It will be going on forever because you don't stop learning. So it's kind of like it is a chance to self-learn. It is your own sort of construction of education, really, isn't it? Because you are in charge. That also means it's really difficult, right? Self-dedicated learning is really hard because you also can go, oh, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to play PlayStation. You are at the mercy of your own tiredness, laziness, proactiveness, all of those things combined into one.
Like what I found with doing the podcast is you obviously become hyper aware of your verbal hang-ups and what you say a lot. And hopefully,
do you edit all these as well?
What's that?
Do you edit all of these?
Unfortunately, yes.
So you are sick to the death of your own voice.
Oh, the voice is fine. It's my laugh that every single time I hear my laugh, a small piece of me dies inside. But I'm feeling like this is probably a hurdle that most people who host their own podcast go through at some point.
The barrier, the great filter.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I should just turn my mic off and just not have to listen to me, just listen to the guest. But I feel like over time, like it will naturally help me become a better speaker.
Of course.
Better, conversationalist. And also, like, I found by doing the podcast, being introduced to people from all kind of different walks of life and kind of creativity, I've been finding more inspiration in my actual day job work from a wider variety of things rather than just looking at digital design or whatever it may be. I'm kind of looking a wider afield, and I don't know, it's awesome.
Yeah, so. No, I totally agree, because I think a thing I always bang on about my talks is finding self-satisfaction. If you're not going to get if you don't feel like you're getting it within your work hours or your school hours or your university hours or your whatever hours, then it's up to you really to seek it elsewhere. You have to seek self gratification in your career or your life or your love or whatever it is. And actually, I think once I clicked onto that, and it made me happier to go into the day job when I was a junior, and sort of I then that energy and excitement would feed back into that, and then it is like a feedback loop, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's also just very difficult to start that, but like anything, and I think that again comes back to my parents. It's like just build a tiny bit of momentum, and then think it's take that first step forwards, and then you're good. I
think just so many people are focused on like perfecting it from the get-go. And that's one thing. Another thing I had to get over with the podcast is just like it's not going to sound like a well-oiled machine first run.
Yes, don't make it perfect.
It's like trying to like ride a bike for the first time at the age of 30. You're going to fall off, and it's going to be a pretty embarrassing and devastating effect.
But that's hard. That's really hard to get over, isn't it? That's a hard thing to shake. It's a totally rational adult human thought. Of course, but you have to fight and work to sort of just push past it and just put stuff out there and just this is the thing I bang on about it as well. It's just you've just got to put it out there. Don't make it perfect, make it now. Wonky, make it wonky, get it out there. You can iterate and improve and change and add and amend.
It's never been easier to do that either.
Yeah, oh God, all the tools are at your disposal to just get something out there. And I just think you might spend your whole life waiting for a perfect thought or a perfect this or perfect that. It doesn't exist. I mean, it might do, and there are amazing people out there who make wonderful things. I just personally wouldn't gamble on it. I'd rather place my chips in the position of I'm just going to do it. I'm going to see, and then build on it. Then you might be like, actually no, I might hold back for a little while because I know I can get it there. But to begin, you've just got to try, haven't you?
With so many passion projects on the go, as well as your day job, as well as all the other things you like to do in your spare time, of what spare time you have left. Have you ever suffered from a bit of burnout at all? And what was that like? Because you're a very energetic, busy person. Like, did you deal with it well, and how did you overcome it?
I think I'm a lot better at it now. I don't tend to get burnt out too much. I think because I feel like I've got a really good routine in a sense of in the evenings during a working week I will work, but that's Monday to Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. In the evenings I'll work. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, me and my wife hang out. We watch films together. We're with our boy. So I sort of naturally have a 4 versus 3 break anyway. My brain's still sort of ticking along when things are busy, which means sometimes I don't sleep as well. But even that, the fact I have to stop. I want to be a good husband. I want to be a great father. So if you're just left to your own devices, it's so easy to be like, no, I'm having tonight off, and then you just slide over to the laptop, right? And then you've just not even wasted. You've just spent 2 hours actually your brain has switched mode. You're back in work mode, whatever form that
I'm
takes.
bad at this.
And I think that because then when you start your week again, you just like, oh, I don't feel like I've mentally had a break. Whereas for me, I'm excited for Monday. I don't dread Mondays. I love Mondays. And actually, Sunday night, I start getting excited. So that's sort of how I am now. And my boy is just over 2.5. And so for the last 2.5 years, we've been like that. And since I've been with my wife as well, she is a jewelry designer and maker. And so she's very understanding and exactly the same. She works in the evening. So we have an understanding of that. But prior to that, and that was back when my time management was bad and my health was bad. I would recognize periods of burnout, but it doesn't make it any easier. You're just tired, you're grumpy, you're not you don't think great of yourself. But I think I always know that, okay, I do understand why this has happened. I've pushed it too far. It's just nice to recognize that, but also changing your situation all the time. I'm sure as my boy, when he's 4 or so, goes to school, our situation is going to change again, and then it's about being reactive to that thing.
Yeah, but that's like refreshing to hear as well, because I think some people will probably, who follow you in social or have seen your talks before, probably think, oh, he must work day and night on all this stuff.
No,
and it's like, no, like he's a
pick
normal human
battles.
being at the end of the day. We all have the same amount of hours in a day, and he blocks out his weekends. So
basically to try and keep sanity, and also to be a human being,
and to get into that routine now means it'll just be a good habit that's instilled
because
in
actually you can go longer because you're healthy and you're happy and your mind's there. And it's the minute me and my wife are trying to actually just be in bed by 11, and the minute we've slipped into a thing where we'll see 11 on the clock and we'll both like, oh, we'll start wrapping up what we're doing, and then you're not in bed till midnight, and then your brain's wired and it's like, oh, hang on, this is getting silly. So we're even just trying to just dial it back a little bit, because he's been getting up earlier, he's going through something and he's waking up earlier, and that's suddenly being woken up at 5:30 is a big difference to 7. So sort of just basically just trying to make micro adjustments to everything all the time. And
I also find just like sleep is just so important as well. Like you're a completely different person if you've had 6 hours instead of 4.5 hours or whatever it is. And it's like, I'm kind of pretty protective of that now.
And I think that's a good thing to do. And sometimes, but also that's nice because then it's going to be a mad week. It's delivery week. I am ready and prepared that I will be going to bed late. That's great because you've made that choice. You're not sort of chugging along and things are sort of spiraling out of control. You've sort of made that conscious decision because you've looked after yourself most of the year, and then you're like, right, it's kind of like a boss level fight. This big project I'm telling you about earlier. This is going to be a hell of an end to the year. I'm so unbelievably excited, and I'm sort of like, right, here's a challenge then. Come on, let's go. And I like that. It's kind of like being tested, but you feel like you've put in the hours enough on the game to be ready for it. You're XP and you're MP. You're up. You're ready. You got your shields. You got your gear. Just do it.
Level up. Right. So to wrap up, we've got some listener questions.
Oh, nice.
I feel like I need a jingle for listener questions.
Here's the listener questions now. What will the people say? Who knows? There you go.
There we go.
Welcome.
I'm going to use that as a soundbite. Get a wee soundboard. So I think it's meant to be John. Sorry. Fuck me, people. Like, I'm an absolute moron. Give me a name I can pronounce. But anyway, sorry.
Let's call him J-Man.
J-Man. There we go. From London has asked, if someone was to make an animation about your life, what adventure would you want it to be about?
Wow. Oh, that would be awesome.
I presume it means it could be like a fictional one.
As in what bit from my life? Do you know what? I think I just like the adventures of me, my boy, my wife, and my dog. Just a little family tale of us all making stuff and doing stuff in a real Michel Gondry style, fantastical, wonderful, Studio Ghibli-esque, magical journey through laughter and fun and madness and weirdness.
That sounds awesome.
So if J-Man can make that happen, that would be ace.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sam, way better name, from Bristol.
Oh, big up
Local.
Bristol.
Asks, do you have any plans for any more books? And also, who's your favorite non-Aardman animator?
Oh, good question. Hi, Sam. Thanks for the question. I would love to write another book, actually. I try and make yearly goals, sort of have a little bit of a plotter for what I'd like to try and achieve. And write a proposal for a new book was on it, but I'm not going to get on that till next year. And I want it, and actually it's great because I'm going to write a new set of talks for next year, and the talks inform my first book, and it's all quite interconnected.
Cool.
So actually I feel like I've got another year of experience, another year of stories, another year of things happening. So yeah, I would like to write a treatment sort of thing for the Do Book Company next year, and just slide it under their nose and go, here's what I think I'd really like to what do you think? So watch this space. I would love that to happen. In terms of there's so many great animation places in the world, isn't there? Really, I love the sort of the work of Golden Wolf, of Studio Ghibli. One of my, probably the favorite film of all time is two is Akira.
Okay.
I watched that when
I've seen that.
Oh my days! Someone lent me the cassette when I was at school in the 90s, and I had never seen anything like it. And I mean, now it still blows my mind, both technically, but also the themes in it. It's such a huge film. Again, as a teenager, it just blew my mind. It's some of the most staggering, beautiful animation you will ever see in your life, and it's done by hand, cell animation. And then Wall-E is one of my other all-time favorites. My boy has just started watching it, which I'm so thrilled about, and I love the use of non-dialogue in that.
I was just about to say, like, that is one of the most.
He's so endearing, isn't he? You love him. You want the best for him, and he's
if you
a
were
robot.
to say to anyone here, watch 45 minutes of just silent animation effectively, you'd probably think you'd be bored at your nut, but it's so heartwarming and beautiful. But
yeah, so there's some of my favorites, and I obviously grew up an Aardman fan, and obviously seen Wallace and Gromit and things like that growing up. So I've sort of always had animation in a big part of my like creative love and stuff like that. So it's lovely seeing what we're in a golden age for animation. I think there's so much good stuff out there.
Awesome. And the final listener question is Sarah from Edinburgh, who asks, if you were able to go to a Halloween party as an Aardman character, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I'd have to be Feathers McGraw the Penguin. Because he is just the best villain. He doesn't say a word. I love the reveal where he takes off his rubber glove and Wally says, "You!" Like he's been fooled. Like I love the absurdity of that. And he's just the best villain, man. He just his little black.
Make a good Halloween costume.
Oh, it'd be so just like and you wouldn't have to say anything to anyone. Yeah. I think I would go as Feathers for sure.
I'd probably go. I don't know. The wrong trousers, but just the trousers.
Oh, just the trousers.
Not a top half.
Nice. What would you do for the top half?
Well, like just I would just be a set of trousers. But you know, like those Halloween costumes where you kind of almost your legs become the legs or something else. Yeah. That kind of do it like that.
Yeah, do it.
That'd be weird. And it's just like this giant set of trousers walking around.
Oh yeah, the Aardman Halloween parties are a thing. I
can imagine.
The model makers put everyone to shame. When we first joined, it was I joined in the summer, but we were in a separate building to this one before we all joined. And so when we all went to the first Halloween party as a team, we were kind of new. People didn't know us. Oh my day. We were sort of really excited and freaked out. People went to town. Someone came dressed as the girl coming out of the TV in the ring and had a TV set suspended around his waist the whole time. Never broke character.
That's another level.
Was always hanging over. Oh my days. It was amazing and it's really freaky.
I remember like seeing a set of Duracell batteries in Aberdeen when I was a student, but they were all like stuck together, like a set of batteries.
So
it was like 8 lads all just having to walk around.
What, just like, sticking to it, like, wow, that is commitment, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, like, a friend of mine, shout out to Lee, with him and his pals once all dressed as bowling pins. And it became like this thing that was on like the Lad Bible and like, it was like an Instagram video, but basically they all lined up in the street and a police car knocked them down. Like this, like tapped them and they all like down.
Well, hang on, they convinced the police to be like,
well, they all like this were like, and then like it was like 1 mile.
Yeah, but amazing. The cops were like, yeah, we'll do it. We'll run him over.
Yeah, they were like totally like commended for their like interacting with the community and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, Gavin, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show and come and visit the Aardman offices, HQ. And thank you very much for taking the time out your day to do it. I do really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I very much appreciate
Is there
it.
anything you would like to do a shout out for? Obviously, everyone, please go and see Farmageddon when it
Yes,
comes out.
please do. That'd be awesome. Thanks for the shout out, well done, mate. No, just big ups to all the Aardman, Mandem, Gyaldem, of course. Just big love to everyone listening. And if anything I've said is useful or helpful, or I can be helpful in any way, please do drop me a line on the Tinternet. I'm all over the Tinternet. If you search for my name, it's Gavin Strange. I'd be very happy to help if I can be. And stay awesome and be lovely to each other.
Excellent. So to wrap up, as per usual, folks, please head over to the website, themitmpodcast.com. That's the themitmpodcast.com, where you can find all the different episodes and more information about the show. Head over to your favorite podcast platform, hit the subscribe button, which means that you will always be notified when a new episode goes up. And while you're there, please leave a review, because it's a nice thing to do and it helps out the show and bring other people into the show as well. So that's it from us here. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you found some method in the madness.